Hi, welcome to Healing the Trauma Within. In this session, I am speaking with Jacqueline Kane about intergenerational trauma. A little bit about Jacqueline. By diving deep underneath the surface of symptoms of chronic pain, Jacqueline Kane, medical intuitive and low back pain specialist, supports women in discovering and healing the crucial hidden links between physical pain, finances, and the ability to live a full life. With over 20 years in private practice as a healer, and over 35 years in healthcare, Jacqueline has merged her innate wisdom with a multitude of healing modalities, including Bowen work, emotional freedom technique, evolutionary meditation, soul clearing, and more to create unique results-oriented methods for healing. Jacqueline's powerful programs, available to individuals, groups, and organizations, liberate clients from both physical pain and financial struggles so they create a path to energy, health, ease with money, and personal fulfillment. She is the creator of the Healthy, Wealthy Success System that guides women in creating their life filled with power, pleasure, and passion. Welcome.
Thank you, Tracy, for having me here today.
I am thrilled to have you here. This is a very great topic that we're going to talk about today because, you know, this is something that we're passing it down from generation to generation and, you know, passing it down to our kids. So let's dive in. Can you start off with telling us a little bit about what intergenerational trauma actually is, what that means?
Yeah, so everything is energy. We are energy. And when we are conceived, we inherit all the habits and patterns of our generations that came before us. So that's everything, all their beliefs, their fears, their programming, all the emotional baggage that they didn't heal is now us with our moms and our fathers. So that's a lot of energy to be born with. And depending on how much sadness, grief, trauma you've experienced, it's a big blend of emotions that we take on that we don't even know we're carrying. So then when we're born, we expect to live our lives and create the life that we desire. And that may not happen because we're carrying all of this heavy energy. And it can be tough.
Right. And what if I heard it goes back, I want to say like 14, 17 generations, something like that it can go back that far?
Yeah, pretty far.
Yeah.
And it snowballs. I kind of believe that it snowballs. It gets our lives become harder with each generation that's carrying it, right? It becomes harder to live the life we desire, create the wealth, create the business, just be happy. Can be really, really tough when we carry all of that.
Absolutely. How do we know that we're carrying intergenerational trauma within us? I mean, is that just everybody automatically has it, or?
I believe everybody has it. Some red flags to be aware of, say, first of all, health-wise, if you're living with low back pain, any kind of physical condition that you've tried everything and it's not going away, it's not healing, that's a sign that there's an energetic, could be an ancestral energy that's impacting that you're carrying. Also, another red flag is if you have a business, or even if you're in a company and you're trying to go up through the ranks and you haven't been able to create the income you desire, the wealth that you desire, that's another red flag that you could be carrying this energy that's holding you back, that's keeping you stuck. Relationships, if it's hard for you to find the love of your life, to stay in a relationship, to enjoy really good friendships, there's something there to look at that could be blocking you. And then the ability to stand in our power, to set boundaries, to say, this is who I am, and boldly put that out into the world, can be very painful if you haven't been raised in an environment that taught you that it's safe to be yourself. So it could be impacting all of these areas. And I recently had a client who she was sexually abused. And when we went through that trauma and we were reframing the story, we uncovered that there may have been other generations that were also sexually abused in that family. And it was all being passed down. So when we clear it in that moment, she's no longer triggered having conversations about that.
And so when you clear it with her, does that mean that she won't pass it down to her kids if she were to have kids?
Yeah, and that's the really important thing about wanting to clear this, is that I never want my children to carry this and have hardship.
Mm-hmm.
Most moms, we want our kids to have an easy life, enjoy their life, be who they were meant to be. So by clearing it for ourselves and our ancestors, we're also clearing it for the generations that come forward. And that's a huge gift going forward. And it's a huge way to heal the planet, heal the future generations.
So how do we start digging in and finding out about this ancestral trauma so that we can start clearing it and getting rid of it, and so it stops with us?
So most people, just by having this conversation, things are probably being triggered. So if you think about the family environment that you were raised in, was your mother somebody who was nurturing, or was she a little bit closed off? And is that something that you've carried in your life? Have you kind of closed your heart off and don't really share who you are? Also, as we're talking, where are you in your ability to create an impact for yourself, wealth for yourself? Has it been hard? Where are you in your boundaries? Many women that I work with who have been, who have experienced trauma, and again, we just don't know. We pass by so many people in a day. We don't know what people have experienced. So when they come into my office and we're talking and they're sharing, it can be really tough, everything that people have experienced. And so when we experience trauma, it's hard to be us. We take on different personalities. We become somebody else because we believe we've created beliefs that it's not safe to be us in that moment. And so where are you with your boundaries? Do you have very clear boundaries? Are they gray? Do you say yes too many times? Are you an overgiver, overdoer? Where are you in that? And start paying attention to your relationships and how they are.
Okay, that's really interesting. It had me thinking about, for example, I think you said something about weight, and I was like, okay, so I'm overweight. My mom was overweight. My grandma was overweight. I'm sure her mom was overweight. I'm like, okay, my kids are overweight. Hello, there's a pattern here.
Yeah, look at
You
our
know?
patterns, right? And we try so hard to change, to create something different.
Yeah.
And then we beat ourselves up when we're not able to achieve it. And that's because there's a missing piece that nobody talks about, right? And that's the intergenerational habits and patterns and energies that you're carrying.
Well, it's that, but it can also be your actions, your behaviors, right? So, if your mom was very strict, maybe you're very strict because that was your upbringing, that was her upbringing, and so forth. Right? Am I right?
Yeah, and it just gets passed down. And when we start watching our kids and what are their habits and what are their patterns and what are they saying, even as little children, I know for myself at a very early age, I became the adult and I stopped having a childhood. And how did that impact me as a mom as I was raising my kids? teaching them to give and put other people first. So these habits are ingrained so deeply into the physical body. It's like we're a computer. You know, we program our computers. Imagine all of those habits and patterns that the families before us were living. It's all programmed into us. And now how do we change it? We try to break out of it, that glass ceiling, right? We try so hard sometimes and nothing seems to be breaking it. It's like really hard. So tuning into the energy and the habits and patterns. And where did it come from? You can even just start asking yourself, what's a belief that you have so strongly, right? Some people have a belief, I have to work 24/7 to make any kind of money. Well, where did that belief come from? Did you hear that often as a child? Did your parents really believe that and say it over and over again? The other thing is I help people get out of pain. But when you go to the doctor time after time and nothing's working, and the doctor says to you, well, you're just getting old. Well, where did that belief come from that when I get old, I'm going to have pain? Not everybody who's old has pain, but it's a belief. And now you hear everybody saying it. So where in your life are your beliefs stopping you? And did you create that belief, or was that a belief that was passed down? And what habits and patterns is that causing in your life to keep that belief true?
So doing that work, uncovering our limiting beliefs is definitely very important in discovering and stopping this intergenerational trauma.
Absolutely. Our beliefs are so strong. I think we're really seeing that in the country right now, where nobody wants to, if anybody questions our beliefs, we're attacking people for it instead of trying to understand each other.
Yeah, we've gotten to this point where, and I don't want to dive off topic, but we've just gotten to this point where everybody's opinion is right as long as it matches mine.
Yes.
You know,
so true.
And that in itself is a limiting belief.
Mm-hmm.
That everybody has to be of the same opinion.
Right.
And that is probably passed down from generation to generation.
Yeah. There's so much about our beliefs and how, because remember, our beliefs, we create our lives from our beliefs. And so, for example, when I was taking my mother's aging, and I'm taking her to her doctor's appointments, and every time I drive her to a doctor's appointment, nothing's going to help, nothing's going to take my knee pain away. And well, with that kind of attitude and belief, you're right. So why am I taking you to these doctor's appointments? Because our mindset is so strong, so strong.
And it's the mind is a very powerful tool. Like you said, it's almost like it's, the computer basically that runs us.
Yeah.
And we get those beliefs stuck in our head, and sometimes nothing's going to change them until we're ready for it.
Yeah, and that's a key point. You have to be open to trying something completely different. And you have to get through that feeling of being a skeptic, right? Because we're all afraid of being taken advantage of. And we're skeptic about anything that isn't mainstream. But there's a whole world in alternative medicine that is making huge strides and helps people get out of pain faster and easier than anything mainstream. So sometimes we do have to just bite the bullet and try something completely different. And you will be surprised at how your life shifts and change and things become easier.
Yeah, it absolutely does. But, on that note, let's talk a little bit about some of these modalities that you work in. I am familiar with EFT, emotional freedom technique, and for those who may know it as tapping.
Yeah.
You know, tell us a little bit about that and how that can help to release our traumas.
Well, there's a mind-body connection with trauma, with physical pain, emotional pain. And by tapping on different acupressure points, you are relaxing the nervous system, relaxing the brain, and letting go of the trauma. We reframe the story and we learn our lesson and we let go of everything else. And it's a very powerful tool to help you move past the fears, the shame and the guilt and all of it that we carry through trauma. EFT is a very powerful tool to shift and reframe the story that we keep telling ourselves, and then create a new story. Because once we heal from the trauma, then we want to create that. Who are you without that trauma? And we want to bring in new ideas and new possibilities. So then we tap in the new possibilities when we use the tapping. A very powerful technique.
What is look at your bio again here. What the other ones that you work with?
So I use
work.
Bowen work. So no matter where you are in the world, there's something called Bowen Therapy. It's an amazing neuromuscular repatterning of the body. It can be done remotely, but most people do it in person. So look for somebody in your area. It's called BOWEN. It was developed by Tom Bowen in Australia about 30 years ago. And it works every system of the body at the same time. So normally if you go for a massage, they're going to massage your muscles. You may have to go to a lymphatic drainage to work your lymphatic system, an energy healer to work your energy system, where Bowen Therapy works everything at the same time. That's why it's so powerful. So people who have had low back pain or hip pain for years and decades, they're able to actually get out of pain. I myself, when I became a massage therapist, I was killing my thumbs. So my thumbs were so sore, I'd rub them, ice them, do everything to them.
I bet.
And nothing relieved it. I started learning Bowen Therapy, and I don't even remember when it happened, but it was months into the training that I realized there was no pain in my thumbs. And I haven't had that pain come back since. So there's natural ways that we can heal, but it's not mainstream. It's not on TV. You're not going to hear it there. And Bowen Therapy is an amazing therapy. These are all, we don't have a lot of time, right? I love these therapies because I'm busy. There's so many things I want to do, and I don't want to live another day in pain or feeling upset or the sadness. And these things can help you shift into a completely new state. So
you just have to have that open mind, because it is not mainstream. Yeah. It feels different. It might look different, the tapping when you're tapping, and
even Bowen Therapy, it's very, very different. I do a couple manipulations and I leave the room and I keep coming in. So these things are so different, but trust me, be open to them and you will feel so much better.
Well, Jacqueline, thank you so much for coming on, talking with us today about intergenerational trauma, giving us a few tips on how we can begin to clear it and stop it so that it stops with us. And, we don't pass it on anymore, or we can help if we already have kids, we can help them so that they can stop it and they don't pass it on. So this has been fantastic.
This has been great. I love talking about these things. And again, just reach out to anybody in your area. Never give up. If you want to change your life, never give up. There's always something out there to help you heal.
Absolutely. You just have to be open-minded and look for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Thank you. And listeners, Thank you so much for joining us. We will talk to you in one of the next sessions.